Welcome back to another Fall Friday, where I share with you some of the best fall recipes for dinner and dessert that also happen to be frugal and fit into my lifestyle here at Savvy Sauté. If you're new here, my name is Leah and I am all about spending less and creating more. Spending less in your budget does not mean that you have to have boring food, and I hope that this video inspires you and shows you just how much you can do in your kitchen. Today we're going to get started with a sweet potato gnocchi, which is much easier than I had fully anticipated. We're going to just microwave a large potato for about 4 minutes or until really soft and get some water on to boil. Next, once the potato is fully cooked and soft, we're going to remove it from the skin, put it into a medium-sized bowl, and you can see just how soft and delicious this potato is going to be. Gnocchi is only 2 ingredients, at least the kind that I make. So once you have all of that potato out, you're going to then add some salt and pepper. We're just going to lightly season it, about a half a teaspoon of each. You can of course add other seasonings if you prefer, but this is just the simple way that I'm doing it today. Go ahead and get that all combined, and then we're going to add flour, and I'm just using all-purpose flour. You don't even have to sift it if you don't want to. Just add in 2 cups, get that all combined, and then we're going to transfer it onto the counter to continue to work in that flour and get it ready to roll out. Once the flour is fully combined into the gnocchi dough, we're going to go ahead and cut this into 4 sections. That way it's easier to work with when we roll this into logs. So go ahead and lightly flour your surface, and you can even flour the top of the dough, and go ahead and carefully roll this out into a long, skinny sort of log. Then we're going to slice it into all of the little gnocchi pieces. You can put little divots in each piece. You can roll it with a fork to give it a cute texture, and it holds onto sauce really well that way. But the main thing is just to make sure that they're coated with some flour on the outside so they don't stick to one another, and then gently drop them into your boiling water. You're just going to want to let these cook long enough for them to start floating back up to the surface, and once they have, remove them with a slotted spoon and put them gently into another dish until we're ready to add our sauce. For the sauce, we're going to use my new love of sage and butter, and just melt 3 tablespoons of butter into a skillet, and keep an eye on that. You're not going to want to let it burn. And we're going to chop up some of our fresh sage leaves. I was really excited to get this on sale again for 99 cents, and it looks so beautiful and fresh. So we're going to just stir around with our pan all of that butter, and you're going to see that turning it into a brown butter really requires that you stay with it at all times. Just keep it moving gently, and you can watch it go from just being melted butter to where it's going to start turning into that caramel color brown butter. There is a difference between brown butter and burnt butter, and it's a fine line. So just make sure you're really careful and keep it stirring. Next, we're going to fry up all of that sage, and it's up to you how small you want to make the leaves when you chop them. You can even leave them whole, it's not a big deal, and just make sure that they get nice and crispy in that butter and continue to move it around. Once the basil is all crispy, we're going to go ahead and ladle in a little bit of our boiled gnocchi water for the starch, and that is our sauce. We're just going to stir that up a little bit, add in our gnocchi with some salt and pepper, combine that, get the sauce all coated onto our gnocchi, and that is it. It is such a delicious, frugal, fancy dinner. It is so much easier than you probably thought. I think you should definitely give this one a try. To go with our pasta gnocchi, I'm going to go ahead and throw together a quick salad with some clearance greens, a few baby carrots that I'm going to shred on top is going to be part of our vegetables, and then I'm also going to do some cucumber and tomato that I have sitting in my fridge as well. So a really simple, easy salad. We have plenty of salad dressing in the fridge to choose from. I'm just going to make sure that I season my salad with some salt. It doesn't seem like something that you would do with a salad, but I promise you it makes such a difference. And then I'm going to go ahead and use up the rest of the mushrooms that I purchased on clearance a while back. I got them washed up. I'm just using my skillet that I had earlier with part of that sage leaves stem, and then just toss in all of my clean mushrooms with that, and then a little bit of water as well. I'm just going to let that saute until they're to my preference, and then I'm going to toss in some salt and pepper as well. And mushrooms are one of my favorite things. I don't cook them very often, but when I find them on clearance, I always like to snag them up, and this is such an easy way to serve them. And there you have a delicious, easy, frugal fall recipe sweet potato gnocchi with mushrooms and an easy salad. Who can go wrong with that? We're also going to be serving a delicious dessert, but eat your greens first. Next, we're going to move on to our pumpkin cheesecake bars, which were pretty simple. I've never made them before until today, and it's really delicious. We're going to use half a cup of melted butter and combine it with 1 box of yellow cake mix. And then you can also add in some cinnamon or pumpkin pie spice. Here I'm just using that cinnamon that I've got on clearance. And then a trick to line your baking dish with parchment paper is to crumble it up into a ball first, and then it will line your pan easier. Otherwise, you know how it just like keeps wanting to pop out? Well, there's your trick. So go ahead and push in that dough that we just made. That's going to be the crust. And then we're going to move on to our cream cheese filling. We're going to do 1 block or 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, 1 can of sweetened condensed milk with 1 egg and some vanilla. And I'm using cake batter flavoring because I'm all out of vanilla. So go ahead and beat up the cream cheese until it's a little bit more smooth and soft. And then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Once that's all combined, we're going to set that aside, and in another medium-sized bowl, combine the ingredients for the pumpkin filling. It's 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of flour, 2 eggs. We're also going to sprinkle in some pumpkin pie spice, or you can do cinnamon and some nutmeg like I'm doing here. We're also going to add in some vanilla, and again, I'm using my cake batter flavoring since that's what I still have on hand. And then we're also going to use evaporated milk, but not the entire can. We're actually only going to use 3/4 cup of it. This next part is really fun, especially if you are artistic like I am. So just go ahead and drop in parts of each batter. This is the pumpkin filling, of course, and then once you have a few dollops of that in there, you can go ahead and alternate and put in the cream cheese dollops in there, and just keep going until both batters are completely used up. Next, you're going to drag a butter knife through both of the batters to create a swirl. You can do figure eights, you can do circles. I am going to just do lines going horizontally, and then I'm going up and doing lines vertically, and that creates this leaf or feather pattern. Of course, the main thing is just to make sure that they get swirled together. And next you're going to bake it in the oven at 350 degrees. The recipe suggested 35 to 40 minutes, so I started with 35, but it absolutely took a full 45 minutes before my toothpick would come out clean. So maybe start with 35 minutes depending on how your oven operates, but keep an eye on it and then don't remove it from the oven until it is no longer jiggly and a knife or a toothpick comes out clean. Now you don't have to remove it from the pan while it's hot like I did, but I wanted to help it cool off even quicker. So I just lifted it out with the parchment paper and helped it cool off on my counter. And then if you need to serve it pretty quickly, go ahead and put it into your fridge or freezer. I hope that this was fun and inspirational for you, and until the next video, I will see you in those comments.